What's going on, everybody? You are listening to the Co-Living Show. My name is Craig Curelop,
Miller McSwain.
and we've got, honestly, like probably one of the top 3 episodes we've ever done, if not the top episode we've ever done here.
I
What do
like
you
how
think?
Craig, like most podcasts say, like this is the best one we've ever done. At least Craig does say top 3 or top 5 every time. But still, I think we're
Yeah,
saying it so often that like there's like 5 or 6 top threes.
the top 3s keep changing, and there's some recency bias, of course, and then,
Yes.
and I never really like to say anything is the best one because my wife and I, we actually rate a lot of things like movies, restaurants, our poops, all this kind of stuff. And it's always on a scale from 1 to 10. And I'm like, you only get 10 once in your lifetime. If you're going to use a 10, you better know it. And I have never committed to a 10 on anything.
Wow.
I have
So
a
you
couple
guys
9s.
know when Craig says it's a 10 out of 10, that episode's going to be insane. We're going to have fireworks in the background. It's got to be nutty.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Okay, Miller, I've got a question for you. We talk a lot about AI and Claude and all this stuff in this episode. And I think very much, how much is Claude intertwined into your actual life?
You might want to ask the inverse. It might be a shorter.
How much?
Answer.
Okay, but what is Claude not doing?
Yeah. Okay. That is a good question. So it is not brushing my teeth. Like that's about it. But I do that. I do it. It's not like no one is, but
Okay.
Claude is not doing that for me. But no, seriously, like definitely listen to what Sergei and I talk about in this episode. And we had a recent episode more about AI too, but like some recent examples, like literally ordering our groceries on Walmart and it shows up. Like I ordered some.
You get your groceries from Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart delivery.
Bro.
But whenever we
you
move,
need to
when
step
we're
up
about
your game.
well, I don't know, where do you get yours from?
Your local grocery store.
Okay.
Support local farmers.
Okay, that's good. We're about to be in your shoes. We're about to be, when we move, we'll be like an hour and a half from the nearest Walmart. So I will be brushing my teeth and going to Walmart at that point. But I mean, really, like I asked it to like order supplements for me the other day, showed up on Amazon. We had it talk to our gas company and get our propane tank refilled. If it can do it, I'm going to let it do it.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I need to take a step. I need to take a couple pages out of your book. I feel like I'm doing too much of the menial stuff. There's a guy out where we live. He's a buddy of mine. He's starting a company that is like he goes to everybody's house and fills their gas tank up like once a week. And he charges $15 per time. Gas is the same price. No upcharge on gas. I'm like, dude, that's a great. And for $30 or it's $15 a time or $30 a month. I'm like, that is phenomenal. Like $30 a month and I never have to fill up my gas tank again, probably. But my wife, it's like an active service that I fill up. Like Grace hasn't filled up her gas tank in like probably years. And it's like an active service that she really likes. So when I brought that idea up to her, she's like, "No, absolutely not. I love when you fill up my gas tank. It makes me feel really special." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So
that's a tough thing with the outsourcing. So if you're going to outsource it, don't lie about it. But maybe it just keeps getting done more easily all the time. And you clicked the button. So
that's it. Anyway, okay. It was funny. We started off not knowing what to talk about. And here we are talking about gas.
When in doubt.
Yes,
AI.
when in doubt, we're here. When in doubt, AI. So Sergei probably is the highest level co-living operator, I'm going to venture to say in the world, but definitely in the country. He's got over 4,000 units across 7 major cities, including New York, Chicago, Boston, LA. And he's doing this on a scale that no one else is doing this before. And so this is definitely a higher scale type episode where we're talking scale. We're talking how is he managing 4,000 units? How is he acquiring them? How is he renting them? How is he doing all of this stuff? And so this is not a very tactical episode, but if you are wanting to make a big splash in the co-living space and you're wanting to see how it takes to get there, or you're curious at how to operate this at what we know is the highest possible level, this episode is it. We got so much from this episode.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Super happy to be able to talk to somebody like Sergei. Super selfish for us, right? We get to ask super cool questions. And really what I think Craig's saying here is, yeah, some of this may not be like ASAP implementable today, but like this is the kind of episode that I think helps you guys like shape your goals. Like, hey, that is something that is achievable. It's not something I should be scared of. I just need to think about it. And I think this episode will help you put some of those pieces together.
Yeah. And I will say Sergei really, like, some people, he answered every question that we asked. There's nothing really edited in this episode. And he shares quite literally everything. All the secrets, even some of the questions, like his business model and like how much he's acquiring companies for, like that most people probably would not feel comfortable saying. He just laid it all out there. He's like, "Okay, I just want all this information out there That's the type of guy Sergey is, and that's the type of businessman he is.
Yeah, and be sure to pay attention to the end. He talks about this software that he's releasing pretty soon that would be totally free. And co-living is definitely in a software deficit, as in like we don't have a lot of good ones. So I'm really excited to see what his looks like, and he'll talk about it towards the end, so you guys can get excited about that and sign up for it.
Awesome. Before we bring Sergey on, I do want to let everybody know that we are at capacity for our rooms that we've got under management. So we are consistently taking on more and more clients on the management side. So if you've got a home in Colorado or Spokane, Washington, or you're looking to buy a home in co-living that cash flows $1,000 to $3,000 a month, hit us up on Instagram. I am Craig Curelop. Just shoot me a DM, and we'll get you set up on a call. And we'll see if it might make sense for this to work. So, with that being said, let's bring on Sergei Starostin. Sergey, my friend, welcome back, I should say, to the show. How are you doing today, man?
Hello. Doing great.
You staying dry out there in New York or what?
Yeah, it's raining. It's heavy raining yesterday and today, but yeah.
Do you have a pair of water wings that you can walk down the street with?
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
that's going to be a
Yeah.
big investment in New York. Awesome, Sergey. Hey, we wanted to get you back on here. You've been on here a couple times now, and I think we talked a little bit before about like the origin of Outpost, your co-living company, and how you kind of got it in your story. But this episode, we really want to focus on like the scale, like how you're operating at the level you're operating. No one is really even coming close to the amount of, at least that I know of, the amount of rooms and the amount of stuff that you have. So can you just share with everybody like where you're at, like how many rooms across how many cities, across how many properties that Outpost is?
Yeah, sure. We are currently operating in New York, Boston, DC, Chicago, and LA, and we're having close to 4,000 units. And yeah, so we are doing this for the past 10 years. We keep growing. So that's where we
Awesome.
are.
And how did you get from like, give us the 2-minute story of like from 0 to 4,000? What were
0
like the
to
big
4,000.
inflection points, the big levers?
Yeah, so we had a couple of waves of how we grew. So we started with everybody else back in 2016. And from there, we were master leasing and subletting the apartments. And then just before the COVID, we did our first acquisition, and that was a company called Badly. And we took over them, and we started to be present in more states, in New Jersey, in California, with that. And then the COVID hit, and we needed to completely change our model from master leases and into property management. And since then, we continue to grow as a property management company that does like co-living, property management, regular property management. And since then, we started to acquire more and more assets from other companies or the other companies. So that were the biggest impact on our growth. So we took over quarters properties in 2021. We took over common living properties in 2024, and we took over the June Homes company last year. So
Okay. So the biggest inflection points have been like really acquiring other
yes.
failing companies.
Yeah.
Is that thunder?
Yeah. That's
Holy
what I told you.
smokes.
We
Dude, that's
had
crazy. Yeah.
yesterday I never saw so much water like falling out of the sky, and today is the day 2 of this disaster.
I
So
think everyone in their car is listening to this.
if
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like,
if
yeah.
if I lose my electricity, guys, you know why.
I'm shocked you're able to do this today. Yeah. Okay. So
It's-
sorry for the distraction. I was like scared of the thunder, and I'm 3,000 miles away from you. Okay. Awesome. So it sounds like the biggest mode of acquisition was acquiring kind of failing co-living companies. How did you
yeah.
find and discover that they were failing, and how did you approach that conversation?
I was always very active in terms of being part of the co-living movement because I love the idea myself. I was living in co-living myself when I moved to the United States. And I think that it's a great choice for people who are traveling, who move, who have different like situations in their life, and that's one of the options, not to be lost in a bigger city and know some people around. So I'm a big believer in that. So I was trying always to be part of the movement and participate in conferences, started to work on some legislation projects and association, and that's how I met many people. And yeah, and we kept talking. So whenever there was an opportunity, we just explored the possibility to buy another company or merge or something like that. So that's how it's all developed.
And did you expand into these other markets? It sounds like you started in New York, but then the Chicago, LA, Boston, because who you acquired was in those markets, or
Yes,
did you
correct.
target? Okay,
No, we expanded through acquisitions, right? And that's
gotcha.
actually our current trajectory is acquisitions, because we keep, of course, growing organically, but that growth is relatively slow compared to when you can acquire the company. So I'm always on the lookout for a good acquisition targets, whether it's co-living companies or regular property management companies.
Yeah. So, Sergey, in that vein, when you're thinking about markets, a lot of the markets that you just mentioned, actually, I think all of them are like very expensive markets. Whereas, like, we see a lot of investors today interested in what I would call cheaper markets like Atlanta, Houston, those kind of things. When you're considering new markets, are you straying away from those markets that other folks are going to? Or, like, kind of what's your thought there?
I think that, like in any case, the market should make sense for the business. So there should be enough delta between the regular market rents and what co-living can bring. For us, it's between 30 and 50% of the difference, and that's an important like delta that you need to keep in mind. But yeah, we're looking into some other markets, and I think that there will be more and more opportunities for co-living in general in the United States because of a few factors that kick in. It's related to migration of the workforce. It's related to AI that may or may not take more jobs, but it's also related to the fact that more people are moving into either larger cities or some specific cities within that bring more job opportunities. And you need to catch those markets and yeah, and be able to establish the presence over there. But there are also not so good stories, like for example Austin. Austin was like a beautiful market for the co-living for a long time, but now it's not. It just the Austin was had a lot of new construction and it's overbuilt now, and the rents are going down big time. So we, for example, we were in Austin, but we closed operations in Austin in 2026.
Interesting. Okay. I'm also what I'm kind of hearing too, and tell me if I'm wrong, is like in a situation in some of the bigger cities, like the per room rents are obviously higher. So like from a business model perspective, your revenue per room is higher. So and it doesn't really take any more work, probably less work actually in the more expensive cities to get the room filled and to get that thing going. And so like the economics actually from a management perspective, maybe not from a purchasing perspective, are probably actually better in a big city. Would you agree with that?
It depends on the size of the project, because the what is really important is how big is the project, because the economics on a smaller project works not so good as on the larger ones. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, the sweet spot is between 100 and 200 rooms in one building. That's where you start making money, and that's the size that allows also to create a much better community, because you have space for common areas, you have space to gather people together to do some events, and sometimes it has also some commercial component with coffee shops or something that also enhances community. But for us, community is one of the biggest sales points in our business.
So you're buying like large, or you're managing like large buildings. It's not just like single family houses. We're talking like apartment complexes with 100 rooms.
Correct, yes.
What is like the makeup of each apartment complex? Like how many bedrooms and bathrooms per unit are there?
The most typical one is 4 beds, 2 baths, 4 beds, 3 baths, 4 beds, 4 baths.
Well, I can never in Denver. Those do not exist. They're all like 2 bed, 1 bath max. Is that like a New York thing?
It's a purposely built ones. A lot of
Oh, I see.
purposely built ones. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. Awesome. And so I guess I'm curious, right? You said you started off with the rental arbitrage model, which I think we literally just did an episode on rental
Yeah.
arbitrage. So go back to Dave Edwards' episode on that if you're wanting to know what that is. But rental arbitrage, right? How come you went from rental arbitrage to the property management agreements? Why didn't
Yeah,
that work for you?
especially with like we've seen like a lot of companies that busted out doing the rental arbitrage method, and they were mostly very large companies, which is what you guys are currently are and have been trending towards. So yeah, really curious on your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so we have both models like that we do. We have some properties in master leases, but we have other properties with property management arrangements or revenue share arrangements. So it all need to make sense. It's pro forma wise. If sometimes it's better to master lease the property for like longer term, like 10, 15 years, and sometimes it's better to do property management. So it all depends.
So you signed like a 10 or 15-year lease.
Yes.
Do you have like an exit clause on that? Like for some reason, if it's not working out?
It depends from a project to project. So
Okay. Gotcha. And is there a certain amount of, in your whole portfolio of properties that you manage, do you try to keep a certain ratio of arbitrage versus managed to hedge risks, or
about 50-50.
about 50-50? That's really good to know. Just to go back a little bit here, like on when you're talking about the property management side and like the bigger level acquisitions that you've made, how did you go ahead and determine the value of a property management company?
As the multiple of EBITDA, there are
Hmm.
pretty much established rules in the market for the property management business, and typically it's some kind of multiple of EBITDA.
Okay. I've heard property management multiples are like 6. Is that accurate for co-living too, or is it a different?
It really depends on the situation, but I would say that we only consider companies that sell between 2 and 4 times the EBITDA.
Okay. So maybe I'm hearing it from someone who's trying to value their company a little higher. But of course, buyers will say 2 to 4, sellers will say 6 to 10. So we got to try to get somewhere in the middle. Awesome. Then
The 6 times EBITDA is more a private equity game. And it depends also on the amount of the EBITDA. So the more is the amount, the higher are multiples. So the
right.
company that generates like 100 million EBITDA may cost 6 times, but the company that generates $100,000 of EBITDA will never cost six times EBITDA.
6 times. That's good to know. And then like I'm curious too, and sorry, I'm asking all the questions here, but we're in the
No, you're
acquisition
good.
side. So I'm
I'll
taking
let you
over.
empty your hopper. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I'm just my mind is just flooding. So when you are acquiring so a co-living property management company makes sense. When you're acquiring like a traditional property management company, does that change anything?
No, we
Still
have,
same.
yeah, we have a certain way we underwrite the companies, and it's not it's not fixed. That it's just that what we consider as the good opportunity for us, because through we developed a software called Nebo inside our company, and we put a really big portion of like really big stress on AI implementation
Mhm.
of different aspects. We started from leasing, and in leasing we saw that we can like really improve the outcome, and we can decrease costs, and basically we can go probably a little bit later in the interview about the software. But the whole idea is that if we buy a company, that we always look into whether we can really implement some changes that would lift up the EBITDA.
Yeah.
And from our experience, we were able to lift EBITDA between 2 and 4 times after we took over through implementation of the proper software AI in different aspects of the company operations and optimization of the workforce and of the contracts that the company has, and through those changes to uplift the EBITDA big time. So when we look at the company as an acquisition target, that's what we consider as one of the first things, whether we are able to improve the EBITDA or not. But if you buy a company for 6 or 8 or 10 times EBITDA, whatever you do, you will not justify that. That's more like private equity game.
And when you are like buying a traditional property management company, like they might have a mixture, right, of single family houses, apartments. Like some of those houses may not work for co-living as much. Are you keeping some of those as traditional, like long-term rentals, not co-living,
Yeah,
or you are?
Yeah, we have a certain portion of our business is just regular property management. And like in the cities, larger cities like New York or Boston, you always have that, because if you take over a management of a larger building with 40, 60, 100 units, inevitably you will have a certain portion of it with a stabilized apartment that cannot be used as a co-living or some long-term tenants, etc. So
Gotcha. Okay, that
Yeah.
that
And
does.
Sergey, are there any other strategies that you're mixing in there? I know for a lot of beginners out there, obviously they shouldn't have one house as co-living, one as long-term, and one as this. So are you guys adding other layers in now that you're maybe perfecting long-term and perfecting co-living?
our goal is to have people stay with us or live with us for as long as possible. So the longer people live, the better for the community, better for the company, for the business, for the outcome. That's why we try to work in projects where that can be used for long-term housing. So the in terms of design, in terms of the quality of the project, in terms of location, in terms of the amount of the common areas, and our system, it allows us also to track certain patterns, certain like things, to be able to work with the tenants early enough to catch whatever we need to catch in terms of management, etc., to make people stay longer. And the mix of having the co-living part and non-co-living part also allows us to sometimes transfer people from a co-living into long-term housing in certain projects and within the portfolio.
Okay. When you're buying, or like when you, let's say you buy a traditional property management company, do you try to say, hey, you got like a 5 bedroom house, rather than rent this out for 3,000 a month, we could get you 6,000 a month if we did it by the room, if you just made these couple things? So are you trying to convert the good properties from traditional to co-living? Because like I feel like that's a huge way to increase EBITDA with like more rent received and then also a higher management fee.
Sure, yeah, of course. We offer them, we show them options and let
Mhm.
the owners decide if they want to try out this or that route. But again, we are very much cautious to what actually happening in the within the portfolio that we take over, and we do not forcefully, because many owners of the property management companies and owners themselves, sometimes it's like a, let's say, a community that exists there in a way it exists for many years. So we don't want to forcefully plug in, I don't know, a co-living unit or units within a community that doesn't want to have that. But as an option, of course, we show owners what can be done and how we can like change something or improve occupancy or cash flow, etc. And yes, that's one of the ways for us besides the software to improve EBITDA. Sure.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, last question on like the room economic side. So when you're going into a new city or you're in a new city, at what point, like how many rooms do you kind of need to be in a city? And then how many rooms, how do you know when you've reached, okay, like we've got enough rooms for rent here now? Like we're kind of like capped.
So there's no cap if it works. So I
No
wouldn't say
cap.
that it's like oversaturation anywhere we work. And again, like whatever we do is just a tiny drop of the total, I don't know, availability, if you will. So for example, in New York, it's like 8.5 million. Like about that, like the residents and like the fact that we house like whatever, I don't know,
Okay. And so then what's the
if
minimum?
three four
Like,
thousand, it doesn't make any impact
yeah,
yet. So
yeah, it's like,
if in terms of minimum presence, I would say that the economics start working best when it's more than 800
wow.
800 units in one location. It can work with 200 300, but the real like target is to have a path, at least how to get to
To 800.
800 plus.
that that's a total different like you're in like
Yeah.
a different stratosphere than I think a lot of operators, which I think is so funny to talk about. I don't even know. I think Mario might be the only other guy that I know that has 800 or more
Hmm.
rooms.
Yeah, same on my
Uh,
side. Yeah, so Sergey, maybe can you help reconcile this for listeners because they're wondering like, hey, should I open up an 8 bedroom house in my market or should I buy my second house? So can you just kind of reconcile that for people why it's not worth it for you to do that until you hit 800 rooms?
Yeah, sure. So there are like sizes of the companies that make economic sense for And for different size of the company, that's what the most important thing. So if I'm opening like a small shop and I'm buying a property and I'm making 8 bedroom property, most probably I will myself manage it. So I'll do everything, and that will be my project. And maybe I'll hire a management company, but most probably I will do everything myself. So market it, choose the tenants, service tenants. Maybe I'll have some super, but I don't have the army of people in servicing business. So I would say that this like smaller scale is under approximately 100 rooms. It's more or less you can manage yourself. When it goes like the next level is about 400 rooms. So 400 rooms, you already need to have a management team. You already need to have staff under yourself. And the next level is over, I would say, over a maybe 2,000-3,000. That's the next level. When you have management, you have middle management, you have staff under them. When you have that big company, it doesn't make sense to open a one property in Detroit or one eight bedroom property, because you need to establish everything from scratch: marketing, cleaning team, like management team, sales, etc., etc. So for us, the biggest cost is marketing and sales. And if I'm like a small shop with one house, then I'll do everything to market it myself. And believe me, it's not difficult to rent out 8 rooms, 10 rooms, 20 rooms. You just post in Facebook, you just use some platforms. There are plenty of them: co-living, pet split, whatever. So you'll be fine. You'll manage to fill them up. But when you have already like a 400 rooms, you cannot fill them out yourself through posting in Facebook. You already need to establish the process with marketing, PPC, website. You need to have somebody who will manage all of that. You will have much more applications and this and that. So it just, for your new process, it doesn't make sense to open a small property somewhere else, because you will need to establish the whole leasing and marketing process somewhere else. So it really depends. So if I were a property owner myself and I'm choosing between buying a property and making housing one person or housing like 5 people or 8 people, I'd probably choose 5 or 8, because that's what will give me better cash flow, and I will perfectly manage leasing process myself. I don't need any additional help. I don't need any marketing budgets, etc. So again, it's just a question of where the company stands in terms of size. For us, at our size, it doesn't make sense to open up one property somewhere with 8 rooms. So for us, again, the time and money and the return of investment works when we establish, or we have a path towards 800 in one market.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So as far as like marketing and sales go, like I'm super glad you brought that up. So whatever the cutoff is where things start to change, 100 rooms, 400 rooms, somewhere in there. So it sounds like less than that. The traditional marketing strategies we always talk about, like you said, Facebook, Zillow, Roomies, like whatever, those kind of tactics are 100% valid. That is probably how you're going to get them filled up when you're at that lower room count. So
Yeah.
whenever you flip to whatever we want to call the next level, you're a black belt or whatever you want to call it, what sort of marketing strategies become important at that point? And like which ones have you found success with when you get into that larger playing field?
After the next step, what is very important is how you work with your listings and where you keep all that information. And probably you already need to move towards some sort of automation. So you cannot manually correct 400 listings. You need some sort of platform that will do it for you. If you have 8, you can go and you can change availability, like price, etc. If you have 400, it needs to be through automation. If you have 4,000 or 10,000, that should be fully automated. You cannot do it manually anymore. We found that for us, what is very important is to develop local websites that we own in different markets that help us to generate more leads. It's very important to work with the corporate clients who help us fill up the properties, like universities, hospitals, moving agencies, like insurance companies, etc. We do a lot of work in terms of PPC and social media. We work with influencers, and we work with local businesses to help spread the information about us. And of course, we have the syndication, automated syndication with the largest listing platforms like CoStar, so apartments.com, Zillow, Street Easy in New York, and some others like Spare Room and coliving.com and some others. But all of that, all those listings, they are automatically syndicated, and we pay those platforms to be on a higher tier level.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you get to the higher level, strategic partners in your community, different companies, different insurance companies should definitely be networking with those folks. Social media, you mentioned pay-per-click. So with PPC, are you guys finding more success with Meta or Google or something else?
Google. We work with Google. We found out that social media for us, paying for clicks in social media doesn't bring us a lot of leads. So we don't do that. But the more and more important, like lead generation, is currently coming from the AI, basically. We started to work in that field last year, and we expanded this year, and I think that will overtake the marketing in the next year or two completely.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Like how AI is like a marketing channel?
Yeah, nowadays more and more people, they don't Google or information anymore. They use ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, and they just give it a task. I'm moving over there. What are my options for the house? And then they start to learn more through interaction with the AI. And within that context, we want to be present for sure. We want to be number one or number two or number three in the suggestions that AI provides to the people, and that's where our biggest marketing efforts are currently. And because nobody can tell you exactly how it sources information, but currently they take a lot of information from X, from Reddit, from they start to take information from YouTube videos. So you need to be present in all of those channels. Especially video is becoming more and more important in social media, in YouTube, and yeah.
So it sounds like this is, I haven't really thought of it this way before, but this is like the new SEO. Instead of being optimized for Google and Bing and all that, you want to show up in the AI search results. So like you got to be checking, are you optimized with Claude, Chat GPT? Make sure that you're like
Yeah,
in their training data.
LLM optimization is the most important thing that anybody can work on now. And we started to develop in the beginning of this year a very large infrastructure inside the company to for us to be able to have a native presence in LLMs. So we built our own CLI layers, built our own rack, we built our own MCP servers so that we can be natively present in LLMs. And where I think everything is moving is towards the world in which like you don't type anything at all. So you will have some sort of box on your desk, or you will have some sort of, I don't know, pendant or whatever, and you will just interact with the voice with it. You will tell, okay, I'm going there, like this is, and it knows everything about you, and it has access, like the LLM has access to your booking channel, to your booking, like availability, price, everything, so that the transaction is people will like click less and less to go to your website, but LLM will take more and more, and the agents will take more and more from your website. So you need to give it the tools that it needs to make a transaction outside of your website. So that's what we're building now, and everybody is building now, and that's where I think everything is going now. So you cannot ignore that, and it's everybody is using it, and people will just use it more and more in the future.
Yeah. So I don't know if this came up on my mic, but I think the thunder that hit Sergey finally traveled at the speed of sound and just hit my house. So hope I didn't scare anyone there. But I will say you were totally speaking my language with CLI, RAG, MCP. So I think you have a really great point. Just to kind of summarize what Sergey's talking about for everybody. More and more, like even me, like with my daily workflow, I'm sitting here in front of my computer, but I am absolutely talking to my mic the entire time and having AI drive all the actions that I'm doing. Like I'm not in a browser clicking around, and like I'm kind of more at the forefront of this. Sergey's kind of at the forefront of this, but even just every Joe Schmo with an iPhone is like going to be interacting with the web and with all these different services in that way pretty soon. So like there's a lot of websites out there that are getting like CLIs. They're building CLIs around them. And that just allows an agent to interact with that website without having to pull the website up, take a screenshot, figure out where to click. It's more like a native way for an AI agent to talk with the website. So getting something like that stood up helps you because an agent can now go in for someone. They can book a room. They can start chatting with your support. It just allows the user to interact in this way that is coming very soon. So totally love that. We have not had any discussion on that. That's fantastic. All right, so let's pivot a little bit here and talk about your team. So you're in a lot of different markets. You have 4,000 rooms. How are you guys thinking about boots on the ground versus like remote roles? Like which ones are important to have people in person and which ones are totally remote?
Yeah, and sure, love this topic. And again, AI will take a lot of it will make a lot of changes in this. And there are a few buckets, if you will, in this relation. So what we want to do is to have to provide a way for customers to have access to sources or answers whenever they need them, and whether it's like prospective tenants or leads that are upcoming or existing tenants, and depending on the need, we try to balance it between remote roles and the roles in the fields. So of course nothing can substitute yet the field roles like handyman and supers and people showing the apartments. However, there are like some advancements in that direction as well, and with robotics, with the tools that allow self showings, with the electronic locks and stuff like that, and we work in that direction as well. But most of our customer service roles, they are remote roles. Leasing is a mix of remote and on the ground roles. Financial operations is remote, and operations and field team is there on the ground. So I would say that we have 60% of the team remote and 40% they are on the ground. As I mentioned in the very beginning, one of the biggest problems in co-living is how you fill up the properties, and that's where many companies failed, is that they never understood how to decrease their customer acquisition cost low enough so that they can fill up pretty quickly larger properties and keep doing it over and over and over again. That's why concentration is very important, because if you establish a marketing process, influencers, brand in a city, you want to utilize it as much as possible. That's why like the more properties and projects you have in a single city, the less customer acquisition cost you will have. However, with the advancement of AI, we see a lot of like improvements in different like measurements that we do, and we do a lot of measurements. So if you take leasing and marketing process, we found out like after implementation, and we keep implementing, so this is never ending story, we keep building and building, so I don't think it will ever stop. But even now, from what we see, we before AI era and proper implementation of it in a process, one salesperson was able to handle approximately 7 leads a day. So that was their sweet spot maximum, if you will. After full implementation of AI, they're able to handle between 40 and 50 leads a day. So the improvement is drastic. It's 8-time improvement in terms of volume that they can process, because how it works, the AI takes over and gives back a certain like aspects of the workflow, and those like steps we're able to automate more and more, including not only email, text exchange, but also phone calls now, and the showings and arrangements and synchronization between different people, etc. My view on this is that AI will not take over many jobs, but instead it will allow to people to choose what they want to do. So for example, if the person is happy with how much they make as the salesperson, they are all commission based, then the person will have a choice: either work less, work 2 hours instead of 8 and earn whatever you earn now, or you can work like, I don't know, 6-8 hours and earn, I don't know, 4 times more. So that will be a balance, and that will be a choice, because what automation and these tools give, they give you like flexibility in this. Yeah.
Hey guys, the tool I've been talking about forever, Co-Living Pro, is now officially live. So some of the biggest problems that I've encountered around co-living are always on the marketing side. So you can think of Co-Living Pro as a marketing software or a tool to help you overcome some of these marketing issues that we all run into in the co-living space. So number one, it helps you determine what to price your room at and then how to change that price over time. And that's actually a free tool. You can go there to colivingpro.io, and there's a little like rentometer type tool where you can punch in an address, punch in a zip, punch in a city, and kind of see what rooms might rent for there. But it does that for you. And number two, historically, for us to keep our rooms operating at full capacity, especially when we're off a pad split, it's meant that we had to post on Zillow, post on Zumper, post on Apartments, post on Roomies, post on all these places. And with just a 5-bedroom house, that's already 20 listings right there, which is a lot of work, a lot of time and effort. So Co-Living Pro helps you solve this. You just make your listing on this one site and it pushes it to Zillow, pushes it to Zumper, and we even support any platform with the manual listing manager. So you can still be on Apartments, still be on Roomies, still be on Pad Splits, still be on anything. And it's kind of a wizard that helps you stay organized, your VA stay organized. It shows you what rooms need to be posted where with just quick copy paste prompts. Copy your rent over, copy your description over, boom, you're good to go. And number three, historically, now that you're on all these sites, we always had to hop in daily or at least weekly to keep these listings up at the top, keep the pricing up to date. So Co-Living Pro solves that for you too. It's making those adjustments for you on a daily basis, even an hourly basis, to make sure your listings are updated across your platforms. So you guys know everything I've always done has been free. The community is free. This podcast is free. I'm super proud of that and definitely going to keep doing all that. But this tool is paid, but I feel comfortable doing that because the numbers are honestly pretty insane. So if you go to Co-Living Pro, there is a calculator where you can do this for your own situation. But let's take that example earlier of the 1 5-bedroom property. From that, we estimate you'll make an extra $1,400 a year in extra rent and reduced vacancy. And that is 5x what the tool costs. Let me say that again. This tool produces 5x the return of what it costs. So in this example, that's actually a better return than most co-living properties themselves, being around 15, 16%. So seriously, to me, this is a no-brainer. So head over to colivingpro.io. This is the tool that I built for my own business, and I'm so happy that I can finally share it with you guys. And back to the episode.
So to finish on the AI topic and how this impacts the combination of on-site versus remote, we see like a very, very large jump in the volume of work that can be done because of AI. So in customer service, we consider about that AI takes about 60% of the workload. In leasing and marketing process, it's about 80%. In financial operations, it's about 60% of all that is taken over by AI. And in field operations, for now it's very low, it's 10%. But the impact is still, it's very difficult to evaluate how much exactly. But again, from our implementation and from what the system, our current system, Nebo, shows us about how many tasks can be done remote versus on site, it's really a large amount. And by the way, we are planning to open our system Nebo for the third-party usage for smaller co-living companies closer to the end of 2026. It will be. We build it for ourselves, but I see now that we built a very, very interesting and nice tools with many things that are relevant for co-living, and I'm planning to give it out for other co-living companies by the end of the year. And the reason for that is simple. I don't believe that there will be any software as a service in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't see a value for us to keep it just for us or trying to sell it, while the data, the interactions, that's what's really important to keep developing the proper AI systems, etc. So it will be like a trade-off. You can use all our knowledge for free, but we want to keep developing our AI capabilities. So that's.
I know, I really like that. At that scale, you do need to have probably your own proprietary systems. And like you said, I think everything is going to, SaaS, I think is going to go away. Everyone's going to have something customizable to them with AI. Sergei, okay, I want to touch on a couple other things. I know it's probably tough to get both you guys away from the AI subject, but curious, like when we talked about like you're making these acquisitions to get a big slew of new houses in. Is there a system or something that you have or like a sales team that you have that is like kind of still trying to get the one-offs, or do you not even pay attention to that anymore?
Or for the new companies, or for the targets for acquisition, or for the organic growth?
For like organic growth of just the one-off properties that you might want to manage.
Yeah, we for sure we keep very much interested to keep adding more business through organic growth through.
Mhm.
So we have a small business development team, and recently one more person joined our team for business development. But that's one of the very important pieces of our business. So we cannot. Yes, we try to hunt companies and grow through M&As, and but organic growth and business development is still one of very important pieces of our journey.
Yeah. Okay. And where do you find is like the best way to get and convert your property owner leads in a more organic way?
So we have developed a tool on our website that allows owners to enter the information about their property and see approximate like revenue or that they can get through co-living, and that tool works very well. It allows property owners on their own, like, with their own pace, to play with it, to use it, and to see if it makes sense. We continue to do a lot of PR activities, social media activities related to spreading the word about co-living, how it works. I do a lot of posting about that. Yeah, we try to generate interest for the co-living and make the property owners come to us.
Gotcha. And when an owner does come in, and let's say they come in, I'm sure you've got a little bit of a sales process through calls and they decide to onboard. Do you guys charge any sort of onboarding fees, especially if you're managing a renovation or furnishing, or like what does that whole business model look like for you guys?
We have requirements for the property to be added to Outpost Group family of the websites. We have two major brands. One is called Outpost, another is called June Homes. So one is a little bit higher tier, another is more a little bit lower tier. So depending on property location, budget for the owner, yeah, it's a different type of investment, but for sure owner need to make an investment if they want to convert their property to co-living.
And do you charge like a project management fee or anything like that?
We do not.
No.
Currently, we do not.
Okay. So you'll just manage it for them. You'll furnish it for them, and then what you get is probably a long-term lease where you're going to continue to. And what do you charge monthly?
It depends on the arrangements,
Mm,
whether it's master lease or revenue share or the property management. So we have different fee structure.
gotcha. I guess like on the property management side, for example, that's probably the most
In
common.
property management, we charge 3% management fee and about 8.3% for the brokerage. The revenue share side, we charge somewhere between 15 and 20% of the revenue.
Okay, gotcha. I would love to dive deeper into the three different business models, but I don't know that we have time. We might have to get you back on here, Sergey. I think that's probably. I guess okay. Do you have time? Like, how long would it take to describe the three models? And
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
So the property management model is where owner doesn't touch the property at all, and they give us keys, and we do all aspects of the property life cycle, from rentals to interactions with authorities, different housing inspection, insurances, mortgages, capex projects, everything. In a revenue share model, we manage everything inside the unit, and owner manages everything outside the unit. So basically, it's like, if in a very simple language, that's what we offer. And then master lease, it's we just master lease the property, and depending on the type of that master lease, whether it's net lease, double net, triple net lease, we take certain responsibilities, but it's just a very typical arrangement. So.
gotcha. And is it on the property management side? Is it 3% just off the top, or do you guys charge like renewal fees or anything like that?
And there are certain extra fees for certain things, but the major is that straight 3% from of the revenue.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. I want to be respectful of your time, Sergey, and I know we only got a couple minutes left, and we still got to hit on our big three. If we're okay, I think we should probably move into the last section. Miller, you got anything else you want to go before we head into it?
Nope, I think we're all good as long as I'm not lagging from this thunderstorm. I sound good?
Yeah. If not, then
Cool.
I can be all three pillars. All right. It is time for the
The big
Big three.
boom.
All right,
All right.
Sergey. What is one tour system you use in your business today that you could not live without?
Plot.
Claude?
Yeah.
All right. I think
Craig,
you're
it's weird. We're getting that more and more. Like every episode, that's what everyone says.
Yeah. It's going to be like the new Rich Dad. Everyone said what's your favorite real estate book, and it was like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now Claude is going to be that new answer. So
Yeah, we cannot live without that in every aspect of our development, especially in programming, in tech development. It's fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah, it does so much in our business, and it even orders my groceries. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, number 2. This is story time. So if you have a good story, what's one transaction, renovation, or housemate horror story that you've experienced in your portfolio?
Story. So it was funny with when we took over the building from Quarters. Quarters went underwater in 2021, and I had this very interesting interaction with the owner. And we were small at that point and desperate because it was middle of COVID, and our business model really sucked, and I didn't know what to do, and so the team was decreased and stuff like that. But I saw the project, the beautiful 40 units, 160 rooms property in Williamsburg in New York. And it was like really big for us, like really big that time. I met the owner, he toured me, and he's like, okay, what you can do. And I started to pitch him like the property management for the co-living. And he is like, yeah, but look at yourself. Let me give you 10 rooms. If you will manage to rent them out in a month, I'll give you another 10 rooms and stuff like that. He gave me 10 rooms. We leased it out in 2 or 3 days. And that's when I got the keys for the project, So that's my story about if you need to always believe in yourself, and if you do a good product, if you really try, then everything will help you
So
to
good.
get through, So
Yeah, your
trust in
performance.
yourself.
Yeah, your performance spoke for itself there, I think. So that's awesome.
So outside of this podcast and our community, where are you learning the most about co-living today?
I have a lot of friends who run in co-living around the world, and I'm reading everything I can find for the co-living, and I participate in some conferences and chat with different people. Yeah, unfortunately, there is not so much information available. But again, it's up to us to keep generating this, keep sharing the knowledge. And as you can see, I'm sharing a lot of information with people, because the more people succeed, the more chances for the co-living industry is to survive. I don't want this industry to die. And that's why we are sharing a lot of information, and we're sharing our Nebo software by the end of the year with everybody for free. So yeah, that's where I get information, and I want to spread information to make it live.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Craig and I are super thankful that you're here sharing this valuable information. And I know all of our listeners are too. So, especially since you mentioned your software that's coming out here soon, where can listeners find more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'll send you the website for Nebo. It's mynebo.co.
Yeah,
And you
we'll
can
put that in the
post
show
it.
notes.
And that's Nebo.
My Nebo, Nebo. Yeah, so that's where you can live, and everybody can live there. Like, just fill out the form, and you can get in contact with me. I'm also on LinkedIn. I can share my email. So it's ss@outpost.me. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, we'll have those websites and those emails in the show descriptions. Everybody can get to you.
Yeah. Sergey, thank you so much, man, for coming on and just answering our barrage of questions. I don't think we prepared you for the interrogation that we just gave you, but super appreciate like all that you've shared. And I think anybody that is willing to build and grow the space and solve the bigger problem that co-living is solving, I think this episode should be like played back multiple times. It should be like the Star Spangled Banner of co-living. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
for
Craig.
coming
Thank
on.
you, Miller. Sure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll stay
Thank
dry
you,
out there, and we'll talk soon.
Of course.
All right.
Bye.
See you, Sergey. And that was Sergei Starostin. I have no idea if I'm saying his last name correctly. I've said it like 4 times, and I just hope it's right.
I think you'll get a text or something if it's wrong. So
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think, man?
I'm absolutely stoked. Anytime we talk to, well, I'm stoked anytime we talk to anyone, but especially when we get afforded this opportunity to talk to someone in another league, right? So there's always people a little below you, people a little above you. So you can bring people up below you and you can be pulled up by folks ahead of you. And I feel like I'm definitely being pulled up by Sergey today. We have lots of notes here that I can't wait to dive into. Me and Craig will be talking about it in our company meetings for at least a week or two. Some of these things that we could and probably should implement into our business just from, learning from Sergey here.
We literally, from this episode, I feel like we could have a 2 to 3 year roadmap of the things that we want to actually lay out and implement. And that's probably how long it would take just from this episode. And all of it is super valuable. And I'm sure there's so much that we did not touch on because we only had an hour. And yeah, but such a great episode. I'm like pretty stoked on it. I just can't wait to get to work and get cruising on some of this stuff.
Yep. Same over here.
All right. Well, if you guys like this show, share it with your fellow co-living friends, post it in your fellow co-living communities, and leave us a rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you might. I keep saying iTunes, bro. I feel like I'm dating myself, and I still feel like I'm too young to be able to date myself, but I think I'm.
Yeah, and we don't even ever mention YouTube, I feel like, ever. I just thought about that. So smash the thumbs up and the bell.
Smash that thumbs up, hit that bell, give us a follow on Spotify, and if you still have iTunes or LimeWire, just download all that. And have you ever heard of LimeWire?
Yes, I was an avid LimeWire user. Like, super duper quick story on this. I was like really young. So LimeWire, it was like a music sharing service, basically, long story short. And but there's like multiple uploads of the same song on there, and I didn't really know this. So I was in like elementary, probably like lower elementary, whenever I got interested in music and LimeWire and all that. And at the time, my favorite artist was Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. If you guys remember Drake in that show,
He was an artist.
He's kind of like a Disney child, like how they do it. They all become like pop stars. And so I typed in Drake Bell and hit like download all. And dude, it was like 30,000 songs is what it queued up, because he probably has 50, but it's just like repeated. I don't know if I got a spanking for like maxing out our internet bill that month, but I was probably pretty close to it.
That is funny. All right, so Miller is a Drake Bell fan. You learn something new every day.
Yes.
I hear Josh is actually quite the artist too.
He is still around, I think, more than Drake. I don't know if he's an artist, but my wife doesn't think he's very funny. He tries pretty hard to be funny. He's not as funny as he was on Drake and Josh, but
no, that's top tier. That's peak. If you like Drake and Josh, make sure you leave us a comment.
Yes.
Share the episode, and we'll talk to you guys all next week. See you soon.
See you.